that? Well,
We're recording now.
okay.
The union, that was the bread and butter union.
I don't know.
Does anybody remember from Monday what bread and butter unionism meant? Oh, a couple of you. Yeah, go ahead, Reagan.
It's just really like the simplicity, like they didn't go for like big things, but like the basics.
We're not talking about reforming the entire American economy. We're focusing on the basics that all unions want. Question: which union focused primarily on achieving better hours, wages, and conditions? Okay, so some of you either weren't listening or didn't use your critical thinking to apply what was just said. The American Federation of Labor focused on just the essentials, just the basics. These are the basics. This is what all unions want: better hours, wages, and conditions. They didn't think about trying to turn the country socialist, which means the government runs all the businesses, owns all the businesses, and so on. This is all they focused on, the American Federation of Labor. Okay, so bread and butter unionism means focusing just on which are better hours, wages, and conditions. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now, which union tended to be more socialist and focus on the bigger economic issues like child labor and socialistic policies? Yay! Okay, nobody chose blue, and that's what I was looking for. All the rest were focused on the bigger things. So, which of those unions tended to get then the better hours, wages, and conditions? Yes. When you focus just on better wages, hours, and conditions, then you're going to get better wages, hours, and conditions. When you focus on reforming child labor, no prison contract labor, and getting the government to own key industries, and all those kind of big things, then you're not going to get this, and you probably won't get the other either. But since the AFL focused just on this, that's what they got. They were successful in that. And they're still around today. Notice those others are not. The AFL still exists today. Well, okay, kind of. Yeah, I guess. But, there was one success that was not by the American Federation of Labor. Straight from the notes on Monday, do you remember which one did this? And still people picked blue even though I said it wasn't blue. Okay. Maybe you picked it before I said that. Okay. Fair enough. That's one goal that the Knights of Labor actually got. That was, yeah. Which union allowed both skilled and unskilled workers? Oof. Big oof. Okay, so since most of you missed this, let's pay attention here. The Knights of Labor said we want to take everybody. So which one said only skilled laborers? Phew. Now, having said that, what does that tell you then about bread and butter unionism and skilled laborers. Is that more or less effective than the big picture stuff and getting unskilled laborers? Yeah. The goals, the tactics of the American Federation of Labor to get only skilled workers help them. Do you remember why? Skilled workers, yeah, they're very the unskilled workers are easier to replace. If you go on strike and all your only skill is taking this wrench and turning this bolt, I can replace you tomorrow. But if you're an electrician and it took me like a year to train you, I can't replace you tomorrow. So if you go on strike, I'm more likely to give in to you. The AFL's tactics seem to work better.
They actually get at something people don't want to do.
Exactly.
That's why you're never good at a job you hate.
In general, labor unions supported none of these. Why? All three of these represented what? Labor competition, job competition. Who made his fortune producing kerosene?
Video yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I do not like this.
What was his kerosene corporation called? Standard Oil.
That's so boring.
Yeah.
This is such a boring name.
Well, he's trying to say that I'm the standard for this product across the country. Nobody's better.
Who got it wrong?
That's
Raise your hand if you got it wrong.
And what was his corporation called? Talk about building.
Yeah, they're both boring.
Wait,
This is how you get out of that.
See, if you were paying attention yesterday,
Oh, crap. I knew who that was. I just didn't know who it was.
now, if I had answers about Morgan, Carnegie, and Rockefeller, the last three have been about these three, and there's 4 questions on this. You can imagine the next one is going to be golfers. But do you think I'm the kind of teacher who's going to leave it right there so you can spam it and not read the questions?
No,
No.
I remember the first year we did it.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Hey, which one of these was the union guy, not the business guy? Ha!
Wait a minute.
Ha! Always keep you on your toes. Always keep you on your toes. JP Morgan had who in charge of General Electric Power Company? Do you remember this from yesterday?
Oh, frick.
Ian, you're so funny.
Thomas Edison. Who was Edison's main inventor rival? Good, good. Like some people were paying attention yesterday. That's good. Did Tesla use alternating current or direct current?
You get a chair over your head for that.
Sydney, you got second place for the day. Jacob Chester beat you by 21, but
Slater's not so good.
but you were still
Did you beat
second
Slater?
place. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Slater's.
So Sydney,
You like Slater?
no, we don't.
No, we don't.
No, we don't. We don't.
Now remember, this is being recorded. Don't pick on poor
Hey,
Slater.
Slater, we love you.
All right, because this is being recorded, I've got to stay here. I was drawing on the board earlier. That page that I just gave you, the front side we're going to use tomorrow, but I want you to use the back side to draw what we're doing right now, please. Thank you for being a good class for Mr. Adkins yesterday. Today will be a relatively easier. On the back, will you please draw 12 boxes?
Like the big bag.
Should it be like smoking around?
I want you to draw it like this for a reason. Try to not make it take up more than. You need to leave space at the bottom for like 3 more boxes that are not related to this. So try to like maybe take up half the page.
Oh, I drew them really
Oh,
small.
wait.
I mean, you can make them small if you want, and it's not going to be as good. My handwriting won't be as good because I've got it, but I need to do this so other people can see it that aren't here. Okay, so my goal right now is to teach you about the difference between monopoly, trust, and vertical integration. I've used the phrases or the words monopoly and trust already. I'm not sure if you understand what the difference between them is or even what a trust is to begin with. And some of you might have a vague idea about what monopoly is, and maybe I've only used vertical integration like once, maybe in class, and definitely don't know what that is. So instead of giving you notes today, thank you for being a good class. Let me just try to do this real quick, teach you this with drawing instead of like lecturing. Okay, so what I want you to consider is let's draw 4 different industries, and we'll call this industry is the steel industry. And in the steel industry, we have steel companies A, steel company B, steel company C. This right here, above that line, is the steel industry. And in the steel industry, we have 3 different companies owned by 3 different people, and they're called 3 different things. Now, do you remember what are the 2 main products that you need to make steel? Yeah, Mars. You need iron that you will heat up later. So let's have iron mine X, iron mine Y, iron mine Z. And what do you use to heat up the iron? Yeah, coal. So let's have coal mine 1, coal mine 2, coal mine 3. This is the entire iron industry. This is the entire coal industry. This is the entire steel industry. And then, of course, if you want to get the iron and the coal to your steel factory, you've got to have transportation. And the main transportation industry back then was railroads. So railroads there, let's call this Railroad Company 4, Railroad Company 5, Railroad Company 6. They're all different railroad companies. And this is the railroad industry. Monopoly. All right, do me a favor. Look at me if you've ever played the board game, not the computer version, the board game version of Monopoly. If you haven't, hang your head in shame, please. Nobody's hanging their head in. Oh, I got one. Okay.
Come on.
Now, let's just pretend that we're trying to teach Aiden how to play Monopoly. How do you get a Monopoly in Monopoly?
You get a
Well, even before the apartments and the hotels and stuff, to get a Monopoly, you have to have 3 of the same color, right? So if you want a Monopoly of the red property, you have to buy Illinois Indiana, and Kentucky. You have to have all three, right?
I don't know why I have to do it.
You know, that's fine.
I would have gone on the game because there's a lot of bad ones that
Oh,
Get out of jail.
yeah.
Those
I
spots.
have,
The strategy behind Monopoly is crazy. I would recommend getting the cheapest ones first, right?
it's like a 5-hour game, bro.
If you play it right, it'll be a 5-hour game. But in the real world, Monopoly means, and I'm going to draw like this, across this entire industry, Steel Company A goes and buys out B and C. And they change the name, so on the sign outside it says Steel Company A, Steel Company A. So that Steel Company A has monopolized this industry. And if you could please write this down, buy out competition. And I don't want to write all of the word competition out there, but you get the gist. And this is very public. Everybody knows it because the signs change. It'd be like McDonald's buying Taco Bell. Like the sign would change and it would say like McDonald's Bell or something like that, right? McDonald's King, McDonald's Fried Chicken. Like the sign would change. Everybody would know that now McDonald's owns this, right? So that's monopoly. You buy out your competition. Now, why is this bad? What economic reasons would we have to not want this? Yeah. There's nobody else you can buy from, right? Competition is good for prices because you increase competition, you decrease prices because they compete for your business. So they lower their prices. Now there's nobody else to buy from. They can set prices wherever they want. We don't like this. This is not a good situation. Now, another way to do this horizontally, see, I've gone horizontal right here, right? If you can, unrelated to this, draw 3 more boxes. Let's call this the oil industry, and let's call these oil companies P, Q, and R. What I'm going to explain now is a trust. A trust is very much like a monopoly as far as the end result. The end result is decreased competition. Here's the difference. Pretend that's a little curtain, right? Behind the scenes, where the public doesn't see it. See, on the outside, the public sees the 3 different signs, and it looks like the 3 different signs or 3 different companies. It looks like that to everybody. But behind the scenes, in a trust, are, oh gosh, controls stock of P and Q. Okay, what does that mean? Every company that's publicly traded, every corporation that is sold on the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ or any of that kind of stuff, you and I are all able to invest in them. We can buy a share. We can buy 1 stock or more of that company if we want. And then when we go, if we want, we can then go to the yearly stockholders meeting and we have a vote. And the more stocks you own, the more votes you get, right? If you own the majority of the stocks of the company, then you get to decide what direction that company's heading, right? So all you'd have to do is have R right here, buy the majority of the stocks in Q and P, and then the R company can do whatever they want with P and Q. This is like a monopoly, except it's kind of behind the scenes. You have to do digging to find out. The signs don't change out front. Ian, did you have a question? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead.
What about like companies that buy out other companies and still keep their brand? Like KFC and Longhorn Steakhouse are both owned by the same company, but they were founded by a separate.
Yeah, that's getting a little bit more detailed than I think I really have knowledge about. Merger is not the right word.
Because like you also have people that say like we have Pepsi products or Coca-Cola.
Right.
Like, unless it's Coca-Cola,
Because like Pepsi is does Pepsi own KFC and Pizza Hut
It's either they own it or they're affiliates. with
Right.
it, because you can make it so- Or like Mountain Dew and Dr. Pepper are their own products, but they're not both products.
That might be called an interlocking directorate, where you have the board of directors are all the same. But I don't even know about that one. That's a good question. I really, honestly, I don't know the answer to that. Maybe I can find out. Here's what I do know. When you have a trust, it's basically like monopoly, just behind the scenes. They can still control the entire industry. They can still set prices. This is not a good situation. The person that made himself well-known as a well-known trust guy was John D. Rockefeller, which is why I used R and why I used oil. John D. Rockefeller was known as the trust guy. When he monopolized, he did it through trust and controlling stocks. So both of these are called horizontal consolidation because they go across the industry like this. Now, there is one other thing. We've got monopoly, we got trust. I want to talk about vertical integration real quick. Vertical integration is a cost-cutting measure. Vertical integration is not monopoly, but it does help businessmen get more power. And it's also a pretty smart way to do business too. Imagine that you are Andrew Carnegie and you got Steel Company A, and you have to buy your iron from Iron Mine X, and you have to buy your coal from Coal Mine 1, and you have to pay the Railroad 4, to ship that stuff to you, then to ship your stuff to market. That's a lot of people that you're paying money to, fees to, etc. What's the maybe, I think, obvious solution to this problem of having to pay all these people stuff, Tucker?
Only the company that sells you not pay yourself to move your resources or to even purchase those.
Very good. See this? I've drawn it vertically like this. This is called vertical integration. And I'm not going to spell out integration for you, but there's vertical integration. See, there's a verticality to it. You now don't have to pay Iron Mine X for their iron because you own it. You don't have to pay Coal Mine 1 for the coal because you own it, and you don't have to pay Railroad 4 because you own all of these. You're not owning the entire industry. This is another way to put this is you buy, that's a you, your suppliers. And of course the people that transport your stuff.
Another reason the machine says low gas prices is because they have to
Right. Yeah. That's good.
Why?
Messed up.
What is this?
The person who perfected this, not invented it, but perfected it, was Andrew Carnegie. And Carnegie's perspective was, this isn't messed up. This is smart business because he saved lots and lots of money that other people were wasting. Like, for example, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola never bought any coca plants or water facilities or whatever else it takes to make Coca-Cola. They just had it shipped to them, and then they made it, and then it was shipped out, right? And that's a lot of overhead. Carnegie said, well, no, I don't want to pay all those people that. I want to be independent. So it helped him out. Do you have any questions over that? Does that make sense to you all? Okay, I will try to have a follow-up on that tomorrow, just to see if that's sticking. But now you know, I'm going to leave this up here because I want to do one more thing. When I say Sherman Antitrust Act, now you should know, now you should know what it's trying to do. It's trying to bust up those trusts and those monopolies. Instead of having A own everything, you return it to where there's competition. You bust A up into competing different companies. And the same thing with the trust. Now, just let me see if you remember something. The Sherman Antitrust Act, this is from Monday, did not end up busting up trusts at first and monopolies. Do you remember what it ended up busting up instead? It did something it wasn't designed to do. Yeah? They busted up the unions. Very good. They said the unions are illegal conspiracies against trade because the unions are keeping us from getting our stuff made. It was kind of tricky. Very good, Madison. Okay, now I have for you, or you have in front of you, most of you have not done any of the